Cool. So we're live. Thank you so much
Awesome.
for being here with me. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's late in the late, almost late in the afternoon for me. It's a bit earlier for you, so
Yeah. If I look a bit tired, it's because I'm still waking up slowly. So
that's
bear
okay.
with me. My thoughts may be a bit slower this morning, but I'm doing my best here.
That's okay. That's okay. You've had coffee?
I don't drink coffee actually, so that's why it takes me more
No way.
time. Yeah. I actually drink apple juice every morning, so that is my beverage to wake up in the morning. As
Nice.
childish as it
Okay.
sounds.
No, not at all. I mean, for an Italian myself, like for me, coffee is my go-to all the time.
Yeah, I can understand.
So cool. Thank you so much again for being here with me. It's a real pleasure. I know you have an upcoming drop tomorrow, so I'm sure
Yeah,
you're very, very busy and very excited as well. I am, so
yeah,
I can imagine you are too.
yes, of course.
Um, just to give a bit of an introduction, so Alexi aka Aeforia, 3D artist for Montreal, Canada. Your work, as you describe it, is all about colors, balance, and emotion.
Yes.
So I actually wanted to start like by your name, Euphoria. And I kind of like, when I read it and when I even see your profile picture on Twitter, for example, I have a feeling it's kind of like a distortion, a remake of the word euphoria. So I just wanted to, if you could tell me a little bit more about where the name comes from.
Yeah, so back in the days when I started sharing my work on Instagram, my username was my whole name, which is Alexis Préfontaine. But it's a French name. It's kind of hard to pronounce for most of the population. So I felt like I could benefit from having a moniker, like just a some sort
Yeah.
of artist name, At the time, I had a logo, like a watermark that I was putting on all my work, was some sort of an abstract A, and therefore I was like, I didn't want to trash that logo, so I needed to find a name that started with the letter A. My
Yeah.
name is Alexi, so like to me it all made sense, and I was just looking for names, and I kind of found Aeforia randomly. Initially, it was written with a P and like P and
Mm.
H, so
PH.
Aeforia. Then I looked it up online. It was used by a lot of people, so I just replaced it by an F, which made it more aesthetically pleasing. And there it was. It is kind of a distortion of Euphoria, but it's also just at the very core a name that I found to be elegant and memorable, and that was like more than enough for me at the time. That was like back in 2015, I believe. So I was barely just starting with my work, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's dope. I'll just stick with it. So this is where it comes from, but it is indeed some sort of distortion of the word euphoria, which is kind of fitting with my work in some sort of way. It's always
Yeah.
been about like positive vibes, dreamy stuff, uh, rarely dark. Even though sometimes I try to work with darker color palettes.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, that's about it.
Nice. And actually, it's like talking about color, like that's obviously, something that is predominant, like the color, purple, like every shade of, purple, pink, is definitely something that shows up a lot in your pieces. What does it represent? Is there any specific reason for exactly this type of shade of color?
Yeah, actually, it's kind of it's probably kitsch to say, but I just love sunsets. So cheesy, but I love them. If we could live in a perpetual blue hour or golden hour, I would be so happy. And so I remember back in 2017, I was kind of struggling to find my style because it was something that was important for me to have something that made me stand out. So kind of like in a scientific way, I decided to keep one thing constant, and it was color. Like, what
Oh,
happens if the colors stay the same, but like the content and the subject is different every time? So, as a sunset lover, I just picked blue, purple, orange, pink. I just picked those colors and I started creating work with those colors. And really, it kind of worked. People kind of started to know my work because of those colors. And eventually, it kind of was my trademark. But
yeah,
at some point, I was getting a bit not tired of it, but I was just I just wanted um, to to diversify my work. I didn't want to only be the person who does pink and blue and stuff like that. I wanted my work to be more than colors. So I started
hmm,
like exploring different palettes. Like the two pieces we can see below are a good example. I think they're not what we could
studio.
qualify as traditional Aeforia colors,
Yeah,
but they're still I feel like they still represent my work very well. So this is where it comes from. I mean, I still love those colors and I still use them in my work, but just not as much as I used to.
yeah, yeah. And actually, another, obviously, like something that is also very recurring is this mannequin. So this figure,
Yeah,
as we can see in most of your pieces, and also the face, like which kind of doesn't really have a face, and even
yeah,
like here in Instinct, it's like a scattered face. So
yeah.
what is the reason behind this mannequin, and also like the fact of like not really showing the face?
The mannequin style goes back to about 4 years ago. I would say was quite random. Just found like this software that's called Daz Studio, and this software can let you create those human figures. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with the idea of creating like surreal characters that anyone can relate to, because you know you don't really think about what they could look like. They don't have like
Yeah,
any resemblance to us, maybe because of the skin color or just the appearance. They all appear very alien, and to me it feels like they're just external to our perception of what a human being is. And so in a way they can be relatable for most of us,
yeah,
they just feel so remote, but at the same time you can feel close to them because they still evoke something like an emotion, or just an ambience. So this is why I was so appealed by the style. And um, also I just loved exploring the idea of body language through my work. It's
yeah,
always what when I start a piece, it always starts with me trying to figure out what my character will be posed like. So the pose will be a huge catalyst for my creative process. I find a lot of inspiration with just poses in general, and I feel like they can really transmit something unique. So this is
yeah,
why I just started using those characters, because I could easily convey some sort of emotion with them, um, and also kind of like distort our perception of what like a character can be. Like, this is so interesting to me, and that's why I just did it from the start.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like you kind of like you can imagine in a way what it might be, but it's very much of like a blank canvas as well, because it's like a mannequin, so it's not really a human being. So
Exactly. Yeah.
you're yeah, 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 absolutely. That's super beautiful. And
Thank
what
you.
about the face, like this kind of like blank, or
Oh yeah.
at times like here, for example, in Instinct, like what is the meaning behind this?
Instinct was mostly I kind of like the idea of this character not being able to really see, but still being able to trust the instinct it has. I feel like this is the whole idea behind the piece. It was also like an exploration for me, because at the time I was still working to kind of let go my usual color palette. This was like an experiment to be more organic with my approach, and I feel like it really we can really see that in that piece because of the colors,
Yeah.
the textures, which feel more like less polished than usual. And so the faces, essentially, what I like to do is kind of to strip them of pretty much anything. They don't even have like eye features. It just glows,
Yeah.
or it's a reflective surface. Honestly, it's just at the very core, it's just me having fun with like how far I can push an aesthetic like that, and how I can just question my perception of what a face could be, you know? Imagine those characters with real eyes, how weird it would be somehow. So when I create a piece, I'm just trying to have fun with like colors and contrasts and playing with the facial features or keeping them more simple so something else can stand out. To me, is just part of the process. And it all comes down to the fact that I want to create those surreal characters. Really, if I wanted to make them realistic, I would not do it that way. You know, I would have to find
Yeah.
some realistic skin shaders. I would have to find ways to properly create some eyes for the characters. But at the end of the day, it wouldn't look like my style. It would be something else. So yeah, that's pretty much how I can explain it all, you know.
Yeah, 100%. And actually, when you said aesthetics, like it's it's super interesting because the lines of all of your pieces are very well defined. Like, maybe the face isn't present and the eyes are, as we can see here, like they're blurred, or you can't really, understand what eyes they are really, but the lines are always really well defined, like the outside kind of shape.
Thank you.
Um, like what is, can you expand on this, like the actual,
Yeah,
like precise definition of the lines as well?
I'm I'm the worst, like, well, not the worst, but I tend to be perfectionist with my work, and I've always had this
Yeah.
obsession of having something really clean to present. Like if if one of my pieces has like a small error in it, I just will feel so bad about it, and so that's why I spend so much time making sure that it looks as clean as possible. That's just how I am. Some people,
Yeah.
you know, they are more um, scattered, like there's maybe more expression in that sense, but to me, having something that is really um, clean and balanced, you know, because my work is balance, colors, and emotion. To me, this is the part of like this is the part of balance in my work. Having something that feels properly grounded and purposeful. Nothing is left like just randomly. Everything has its own specific place. I spend just so much time working on my compositions to make sure that the eye is looking at the right place and not on some unnecessary detail. Um, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, they're, I have to say, they're very aesthetically pleasing to watch.
Thank you.
Very
Appreciate it.
much. I'm looking at the ethos now, and you can just kind of like keep watching it in loop, and it's very pleasing.
Thank you so much.
So you obviously, like you've mentioned, your attention to detail, but also you mentioned that your pieces and your artwork are kind of like intended to be stripped from everything that is, unnecessary or artifice.
Mhm.
How do you go about like doing that in your creation process, and even I guess in your inspiration?
Well, you know, I my process is very sometimes it's very time consuming. I will spend like a long while on the pose, as I said, but when it comes to the actual 3D scene, I will just spend hours and hours just putting in some extra details, trying to figure out like what I could add, what could make it work. And most of the time, I just end up going back to my gut feeling of what I had in the initial place. So if I have a piece and I start adding those things, most of the time I just end up removing everything that I've added during the process, and I go back to square one. Because I don't know, my work is not incredibly detailed, and it's, to me, is like what matters the most is just to convey like the raw feeling, and it's an exploration of colors also. And so I don't know, I just want to keep what is like easy to read, what has the most impact. um, so that's why, like, a lot of the characters, they are often alone, because I don't need anything else to like for them to show what they're supposed to show.
Yeah.
um, it's just maybe my brain that is weird, but I always like to think of what I always try to think of, like, how the eye can like move around in my image, and if there's anything that just gets the attention of my eye for no purpose, I remove it. So this is why my aesthetic is maybe a bit more stripped down, and I would not say minimalist, not at all,
Hmm.
but it's kind of stripped down compared to some of the work that we can see online. Um, so yeah, that's how I would describe it. Um, and especially in my newest series, Five Fears, well, it's literally just the characters, no clothing, and so just a raw emotion. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's stripped down of any artifice or unnecessary detail.
Yeah. And actually, speaking about this, obviously, you have your upcoming drop tomorrow on the 25th
Yes,
of Feb on
yes.
Nifty. How are you feeling about it, first of all?
Well, it's a blend of excitement and stress. Just because you never know what's gonna happen. You want to do well, but I feel like so far the reception to this project has been beyond my expectations. So I already feel like grateful for everything. Like, no matter what happens, I've had a chance to talk with people about this project and get some really honest feedback, and that meant so much. So, I'm really happy at the very core of, like, at the like just like I'm simply just happy to have done this project. Was not easy to
Yeah.
get into, because it's, well, I mean, I'm talking about my fears. It's not it's not the most glorious topic, but a lot of people related to it, and I couldn't be more happy about the result, really. So I'm excited but stressed at the same time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, I told you before when we were speaking that I was reading your blog posts and your what you wrote, what you tweeted about of this drop specifically. You talked about being your most personal and emotional work, and the representation of these fears. Like, I guess, like, what do these fears mean to you, and how if you can expand on the meaning of this artwork, and on the meaning of this drop, and also how you managed to reflect these in each of the pieces as well.
Yeah. Well, before even creating the visuals, I wrote my statement. I mean, it was not final, because like, at the end of the statement, it also feels like I'm also looking back on what I done. So it was like a process. I started with like a first draft, and then I started working on the visuals, and then I came back to adjust, and so it was really a parallel process of, like, just pushing everything forward, both the text
Hmm.
and the visuals. So it really came down to this idea of just being, like, totally honest in my work, and also just bringing to the table something that can be more than often, um, like, ignored. On social media, it's all about showing your achievements, showing how good you are, how great your life is and how strong you can be as a person, when in
Yeah.
reality we all hide behind our screens and we are like all imperfect. And to me, I just had this urge, this calling that was pushing me to talk about this. I was like searching for ideas for weeks for my drop. I couldn't find anything, and I was kind of trying to ignore um, that topic because it was calling me. But at the end of the day, I decided to do it, and to move forward with it, even though it was really scary because I was like, what people will think of me, what other art, like, will other artists relate to it? What collectors of
Hmm.
NFTs will think of me talking about those weaknesses? Um, so yeah, those are questions that I was asking myself. And so when it came down to the work itself, I just spent a lot of time sketching like ideas. I wish I had my sketches around, but I don't know where they are right now. So I just started sketching like rough, um, just rough drawings. I don't draw very well, but I always like to sketch out the poses before, just so I get a good idea of what I'm trying to evoke. And I was really like questioning like how would I represent that fear if it was a character? I had all my fears set, like all set before creating the visuals, so I knew that I wanted to tackle mistake, dishonest, disappoint, left behind, and vulnerable. But visually, what do I do? So as I always do, I start with the pose, and I feel like in those characters, they're not like human beings, but when you look at them, you
Yeah.
can feel some sort of like conflicted emotions. You can feel that they're not like they're a bit tormented. But what I found interesting also in the process is that I brought in my usual bright and colorful color palette. And that creates like some sort of interesting contrast. I could have just gone and made them all very dark, and spooky. But this is not what I
Yeah.
wanted to do. What I want to do with this project is to like put myself out there and also acknowledge that I have those fears and work towards um, just having a more healthy relationship with them. I'm not saying that I won't have these fears anymore, but if I can be more confident in myself by like speaking out about this, this is the
Hmm.
end goal for me. And also for others, if they can relate, well, that's even better. So you have
Yeah.
those characters that feel tormented, the colors that are contradictory, and I think it's part of that because I want to like work towards being better with my fears. Um, so with the sounds as well, they feel more hopeful. They don't feel like dramatic and like, oh, there's no way out. So this was really important to me, that the viewer feels like I'm not like that there's some sort of light at the end of the tunnel, really,
Yeah.
and also to contribute to like expressing the fear itself. I spent like a lot of time creating some soundtracks for it. So I've been playing music for about 10 years, and it was like very it was just a reflex for me to just go and create the sounds myself. At the very beginning, I thought of like maybe bringing someone in, but then I realized that
Yeah.
this project was so personal that I could only do it myself. Like no one else could express musically what I was trying to express on text and visually. So it's like all around, it's just an expression of myself, and no one else could have done it for me. So yeah, the sounds in themselves are kind of like the voice of the characters. If you listen without the sound, they still evoke something, but when you play
Yeah.
it with the sound, it's like a whole new level. You can feel like they're talking to you, that they you can feel the outcry or the feeling that they supposed to embody. And so yeah, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm pretty much just explaining my whole process.
I love it. Please continue. It's very, very interesting.
Awesome. So, yeah, this is how it went for me. it was such a long process. I spent like there's nothing crazy in these visuals. There's no like insane amount of details, but I can assure that I spent so much time making sure they felt balanced. All like the colors, the texturing. I spent crazy amount of time on that. You have no idea. Like it took me so much time. I just worked on this every day since the beginning of the year, and it's just 5 visuals, so it's more than a week per visual. It was quite crazy. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I can say. I invite people to read the statement, and if they relate in any sort of way and they want to connect with me, um, my inbox is open to chat about it. I would love to hear what people have to say about this whole thing.
I love this. Yeah. I actually was very interesting to know one thing. So this one is, sorry, I don't know if you can see this one here
Yeah,
is the only one that is black, right? Or
yeah.
like kind of like black silver. Um, which is this the mistake? Or
This is Left
which
Behind.
the left behind? Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose the this color specifically?
Initially, it was like some sort of purple, and
Okay.
I don't know when I looked at it and I reflected upon like what the actual fear meant to me. It didn't feel as strong as it could be. The fear of like being left behind is probably one of my deepest fears, along with disappointing people. I know this is like we shouldn't worry about what other people think and all that, but at the very core, I mean, I'm human and I just hate to disappoint my
Exactly.
friends or family
Everybody
or
does.
yeah, everybody does. And so I think I just wanted that visual to be kind of I wanted it to be strong and very um, loaded, if I could say.
Hmm.
When you listen to the
Yeah.
visuals, you can feel that you can feel that also in Disappoint with the soundtrack. It's one of the most loaded soundtracks of all of them. Like it's really powerful, like big chords, big strong chords. They are kind of mean in some sort of way, and I
Yeah.
think it kind of goes to reflect how strong maybe I relate to a certain fear. They're not like all equal to me. Some of are more present in my life, and I feel like it probably subconsciously reflects in the visuals at the very end. Also, um, when I work with colors, I just try to find what feels right, and
Yeah.
somehow having a darker character that kind of stand out felt right to me. All of these characters, they all have something that can make them stand out from the rest. People have like you just have to look at the details. But as an example, Mistake is the only character with something on the forehead, which is a broken sphere.
Th-
Um,
this
yeah,
one.
this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dishonest is the only character with a mask. The only character that you'll see, like this character, you cannot see the eyes moving. It's just static. It's a mask. So the true person that is behind the mask is yet to be revealed. We'll never know. Disappoint has 2 characters. Like what? Why? I feel like this one is my strongest fear in a way that I'm always afraid to disappoint someone else. So that's why it felt just right to have 2 characters.
Yeah.
One that is a bit darker, more behind it. It's probably like the other person, and the character at the front is myself, or that's how I perceive it. But anyone else could have their own interpretation of it. Um, Also, and therefore, Left Behind is the darker character. Also
Yeah.
has only like a tiny detail on the face, um, and vulnerable is the character that is more vibrant, and it has a ring. So you see, like each character has their own little detail and treatment
Yeah.
to it. So it felt just natural to have some more brighter and colorful characters and some more darker ones, just to make sure I can go like I can have like this sort of spectrum within this series. So it's not all bright and colorful. Some are more darker and thoughtful, I would say.
Yeah, I absolutely love them. They're all, very strong as well. And I mean, I think like also like obviously hearing you speak about it, it makes it even more powerful to me as well.
Thank you.
But also like the fact that you've openly like shared this as well in the community on Twitter, with with people that follow you, with collectors, but also artists. I guess makes it even stronger. Like what in a way, like was sharing this kind of like a relief or a release, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first off, thanks for all the kind words towards the project. It means a lot. Yeah, I would say it's some sort of release, even though like I'm not I'm not like I won't stop being afraid of being left behind like tomorrow after the drop. It's still gonna be there,
Yeah, of
but
course.
I feel like it kind of reassures me that in this day and age we can be very vulnerable, and like the majority of people will like have open arms for that. And I feel like it's so great because I don't know, I don't feel like a few years ago you could just go on and be so open on social media and have like such a great response. I don't know why, but I'm really grateful
Yeah.
for that. And in a way, it does feel like a relief because I know that like other people are also just experiencing that, and I've got so many great people just reaching out and telling me that. I had this person who said that um, they were they were kind of afraid of releasing their next project, and that reading this kind of felt make them feel more comfortable about the idea of like sharing their new work, because they were just afraid of sharing it to the world and afraid of the judgment, and like afraid that it might not be well received. And so this
Yeah.
project sort of enabled them to think that, well, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter if it's true to myself. It's just the best. So having those discussions and people telling me that, as an example, they related in the part where I say that I always used to like bottle up my feelings and just escape through work. Um,
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of people resonated with, and I feel like it's important to acknowledge it, especially in this like creative sphere, where a
Yeah.
lot of us are workaholics. I've always been like that. Even before art, it was for me like it was probably just homeworks. I was just always doing homeworks because it was easier for me to ignore everything and just lose myself within work. So, yeah, all of those little things that I've touched on, knowing that other people connected with it made me like feel so great about it. Like honestly, when I released the trailer and got to read all the responses, I was honestly overwhelmed and almost tearing up all day just reading the
That's
comments.
amazing.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really great. I was a bit stressed
Yeah.
to reveal what they were about, but people were just so receptive. It was
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like even the community in general of this scene, well, now it's getting much bigger, but it's still pretty small in a
Yeah.
way. You kind of like feel like know almost everyone that is around like
Yeah.
your Twitter feed,
Yeah.
which is a good feeling, I think, at least from my side. But yeah, I guess like the sense of community is like very strong. So it's definitely like something that I feel is super important in this scene specifically, especially
Yeah.
because we're
Yeah.
all behind screens, so
Yeah.
like adding
Exactly.
these personal touches is just very powerful.
Yeah. I feel like it's great to have like these voices in the community. Like a lot of people are very, very vocal about their feelings, and especially in a space where it's growing so fast.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lot of achievements being done. Knowing that other people are also there to listen uh, is just great. So far I've seen some negative people in this space, but mostly, like most of the people I've met, they're all like crazy good people, like just people who love art and love sharing and just connecting with others. We're a digital generation, and so
Yeah.
we can all relate to each other somehow. So honestly, just being a part of this community is one of the best things of what I could call crypto art or NFT. It's
Yeah.
just so great.
Yeah. And I mean, it's who knows what will happen next, but it seems that like it's going to, explode in the near future. So
Yeah,
we'll see
it
how it
really seems
how,
like it.
yeah, we'll see how it evolves. What are you most looking forward to this year, or in the space, or for your work as well?
um, I'm really looking forward to, well, first off, on the same day of my drop, there's the Beeple auction at Christie's that's starting. I mean, the auction is going to take a long time, but this is something I'm really excited about. I feel like it's going to
Yeah.
bring so many people in this space. And I feel like it's going to make like the reputation of crypto art, like it's going to bring digital art up to higher standards, close to traditional art.
Yeah.
It's like a big revolution right now in a way that um, it's kind of weird that now I was always used to like get income through client work and having a day rate, but now I can have an income by just being me and sharing work that speaks
Yeah.
to me. Um, that's something we didn't see really before. Um, so I'm truly grateful for that, and I'm honestly just looking forward to this space to grow, and I hope like it like people I hope that people in the mainstream can understand what it truly means. I see a lot of negative people just being angry that people in the digital art space are making good sales for their work, but I mean
Yeah.
it's like a disrespect to the whole medium, because as digital artists, um, a lot of us are spending so much time on our work that it feels like unfair that we cannot like expect to sell it to people like traditional artists
Yeah.
do. Like you don't go to a gallery and complain about people selling their work, but yet in the digital space it feels like people like claim we're robbing like everybody, but we've
Yeah.
been working so hard to to like justify ourselves and all that, and feel like real artists, that now that we can be, um, I don't see why it should be like seen as negative. Anyways,
Yeah.
that's just my take. So I'm really looking forward to people just being more able to understand what it means. So I feel like it's our job to also like talk to our families, our friends, and just explain them what's going on.
Yeah.
Like even with my audience on Instagram, I try to be transparent about what it means. Like try to explain what NFTs are and share resources. So I feel like all of these actions are just um, a necessary part of the process to make sure that eventually no one will question uh, like the purpose of NFTs and crypto art, and that will become like a normal thing, like
Yeah.
just like traditional art. Um, as for this year, I'm looking forward to the next projects. I would say that now I'm kind of overwhelmed with like this one that is coming to an end,
Of
but
course.
I can't wait to like start working on the next one. Uh, I ironically, I'm kind of afraid of like working on the next one, because I feel like I've went so deep on that 5 years project that like what's next? Like what can I do
Yeah.
now that I just went the deepest I could ever?
So down. Yeah.
Yeah. But
Exploring.
it's
Yeah.
just temporary. I'll find a way, that's for sure. So yeah, I'm excited about all those things. Lots of crazy projects happening in this space. Even Grimes is gonna drop on Sunday, I believe. I'm really looking
Yeah.
forward to what's gonna happen after that. Anyways,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many, as you said, like the Beeple auction, and everything that is happening like every day is I think like a little step forward
yeah,
into building what is essentially a big shift in the community. So it's
yeah.
definitely super exciting. I'm very excited about your drop personally. Can't
Thank
wait.
you.
So I hope it goes well. I'm sure it will. I'm already expecting, the tweet that
Uh,
everybody does after a nifty
yeah,
drop, right? It's like,
I have to
what
think of
happened?
something. Yeah, I have to think of
Yeah,
something original to say. But
yeah.
depending on how it goes, I might not be able to tweet. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see tomorrow what happens. I don't want to set any expectations. I'm just proud of the work I did, and that
Absolutely.
people connected with it, and that's perfect. And so from now on, I try to just remind myself that it's gonna be okay. I'm glad to have the support of everyone. Even my roommates are going to be there and try to grab something.
Oh, yeah,
It's their first time collecting NFTs, so
that's amazing.
yeah, it's really cool. I feel like,
I recently told my mom about it, and
oh,
now she's like really into
nice.
it.
Yeah, I explained my mom. She's gonna grab one as well. My dad has been like a heavy collector recently. He's texting me every day. Every time there's a drop,
No
he's like,
way.
"Yeah," he's like, "What are you getting tonight?" And he's spending more on NFTs than I am right now. So it's just awesome. Like
I mean,
it's
the FOMO is real in the
it's real.
NFT world.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, well, thanks for the encouragement. Looking forward to tomorrow. I feel
Absolutely.
like it's gonna be a stressful but very awesome day when it all, like, when everything is done.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time today and speaking about it so openly, about your drop, about everything that is your creations, your artwork, your inspiration. I really appreciate it. And good luck with tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
And thanks to everybody who tuned in, who listened, and thanks also to our sponsor, which is Whale Street for this month as well. Thank you all.
Awesome.
I hope you have a good day.
Have a great day, everyone, and thanks again for having me here. It was great.
Of, of course. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.